But it's just amazing to listen to the noise around this war. People are asking, is it almost over? It's been 1 week. We're only 8 days in, and there's just, there's no patience with this war. When is it coming to an end? Is it going to be soon? Obviously, the president says that this is going to be short term, and I believe that he does want this to be short term, but of course wants it to be successful. The president provided an update on the situation in the Middle East just a short time ago, reminding the world that what he's doing right now is he's keeping his promises.
On the very first day I came down the escalator in 2015, I said, quote, I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. And all I'm doing is keeping my promise. Think of that. That was in 2015. I said it. It was a threat then and a much bigger threat now, but no longer a threat, not for a long time anyway.
And Adam, just to pick up on something you mentioned earlier, that the oil prices. Now, Donald Trump said over the weekend that the increase in oil, it's a very small price to pay for safety and peace amid this conflict. He posted on Truth Social, short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over, is a very small price to pay for USA and world safety and peace. Only fools would think differently. And I think he's really got a bit of a point there, really, when we are so blessed, really, here in Australia, when we are seeing that the oil prices go up. Men and women are bravely at war trying to defend, really Western civilization and taking out this evil threat. And we're worried about the oil.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. I think it's a very small price to pay if the war only lasts a few weeks. The oil price has come down, as you said. It went through $100 a barrel. The last time I checked a few hours ago, it was about 90. That's still very high, though. It was basically averaging about $65, $70 a barrel for most of this year so far, for the last 6 months or so. So that's about $20 increase if it stays where it is. The worry, I think, for policymakers in the US and especially Australia, where the impact of the oil price is even greater on inflation, is that inflation rate. I mean, it's almost certain in Australia that the inflation rate now will go through 4%. I think that's a near certainty. It's 3.8 now, as you know. 4% is very embarrassing. It's going to mean the RBA has to put up rates. And in the US too, I mean, it's not quite as affected as us by the oil price, because of course they have their own oil and they're also massively increasing production in the US. We're not, of course, we don't really have any oil production. We're completely dependent on oil imports for 90%. So the inflation rate is a concern, but if it does return to normal levels in a few weeks, it won't be a huge hit. The issue is, what sort of economic pain can the regime in Tehran inflict on the US? And we still don't really know. We don't know how many missiles they have. I mean, the fog of war is very, very thick. So let's hope the US is right. I really hope the regime falls, and it falls soon. I mean, that's probably, if someone forced me to bet, that's what I'd say will happen in the next couple of weeks. The regime, through back channels, will basically ask for an off-ramp so they can stay in power and the war can end, because they don't want to see the destruction of their country. The US is very capable of doing that. But then on the other hand, there's great cost for the US too. Their missiles are millions of dollars each. I think the Iranian ones are very cheap. And we don't know how many they have in storage.
I mean, that is so extraordinary. If in just a few weeks we'll be able to see regime change. Just going back to your point when you were talking about inflation here and what we could potentially be up for here in Australia, listening to our leaders, it kind of reminds me of the COVID era. Don't panic buy, don't travel. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Obviously, a very different situation. But you mentioned those fears around inflation, that it could get as high as 5%. I mean, how much is that really going to hurt us?
Yeah, well, look, I'm shocked actually to see market pricing just this morning that the chance of a rate increase next week or the week after, whenever the meeting is only 40%. I mean, I would have thought it'd be almost 100%. I mean, it's a very bad look for the RBA, I would say. This is a slightly different subject, but I mean, they're meant to keep inflation between 2 and 3. It's now 3.8%, and if their forecasts are true, the current RBA forecast, it will be outside that band for 7 years. So they're not really doing a very good job at keeping it within 2 and 3. So if they want to have any credibility, they're going to have to put up rates. And of course, that's bad for the economy. It's bad in the lead up to the budget for the government, because that's going to put up all the interest costs of that $1 trillion debt that we've been talking about before. The national growth figures will slow almost certainly. That's what happens when the oil price goes up. So there's lots of negative consequences. And as for the government saying, don't panic, well, what do they know? They wouldn't have a clue about the future, right? I mean, we saw through COVID, things can get much worse. The official forecasts are always wrong. Chris Bowen has no idea about what's going to happen in the war. So it's understandable he says that. But if I was someone who was very dependent on oil for my business, then I probably would rush out and buy a lot.
No, you're absolutely right. Adam Crichton, Chief Economist and Senior Research Fellow at the Institute of Public Affairs. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to speak with you.
Thanks, Gab.